This is the flint corn.
Okay.
That's like more than 12 inches.
Okay.
Has 8 rows of corn, and there's roughly 40 per.
Okay.
So that's 400, right? Or back then in those days, how would you decide what kind of seeds to plant? Each one of these is a seed and would grow a new plant. From the knowledge we have, it was the women that decided. They'd save these seeds, pluck them off by hand, and everybody had their own criteria as to which they would plant for the next year. And it took years and years and years and years to develop that. So it came from like South America all the way up to the Iroquois, which were in New York and Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. So this is what we ended up with. From the Indians gave this corn to the settlers when they first got here. You know that famous story about Thanksgiving. So this corn slowly made it into our agriculture, and then as things sped up, they invented machines to make it faster and faster. So no more plucking each one off by your thumb or hitting it with a stick. They came up with machines like this, and this is called a corn shell. So if you could take a quick look down inside this thing. Can you see down in there? Do you see those teeth?
That's fascinating.
It is. The corn's going to hit these teeth, and it's going to knock them off all in one fell swoop. I'm going to spin it, and then they drop it in that hole without it. You get it? I got to spin it fast. It happens in a second. This is about the fineness that we like. I like it a little coarser. This is the outside of the corn kernel. So you got to spin hard, 2 hands. So you put it in. Keep going. You can see how quick that is. It came right off in one fell swoop.
I want to do that again.
Kernels are off. And you have a shaker here. And then you have the corn. And you take it and you can grind it. This is a steel wheel, so you could catch it, and then this would be the ground corn that's used for Johnny cakes and ground meal, and it's sifted. Yeah, you can get some more. Grind up more. Actually, if you eat too much corn, you can get a disease. It's called pellagra, and it's a zinc deficiency in the body. And it actually happened in the American South, early 1800s, once they sped up and people were able to eat corn and a lot of it and nothing else. But the American Indians knew that, and the people in Mesoamerica knew that. Would take the outside of the hull off, that's this, and mixed with the lime, it made the different nutrients available to the body. So you could have the corn be a large staple in your diet and not affect your health.
So it's interesting that you bring up the question of corn and diet and health, and I'm wondering, how is flint corn any different than any other kind of corn? Is it part of a larger movement for sustainability, or?
It was favored for its storability. You can see that the kernels are very hard, they store very well. Indians used to bury that in the earth over all winter and would still be able to use it just like that. They kept the kernels on the cob. That cob would help to regulate moisture. If it was too dry, the cob would suck the moisture back in, and if it was too wet, then it would help to, disperse that.
So what brought you to this particular experience?
So I went to one fair that was an organic fair, and they wanted me to have organic corn. I was just using cattle corn. So I said I'd look, and that led me to this fellow called Harry here in Rhode Island. And he's still growing Rhode Island flint corn the way it's been grown for hundreds of years. His actual seed came from the University of Rhode Island. University of Rhode Island is a land-grant university, right?
Correct.
And so it started in agricultural education.
Right. Well, when we were thinking about the transition from sort of large-scale agriculture to this very tiny experience, do you think is it part of like a larger picture of sustainability? Is it something that you can see kind of growing in your community, or how does it fit into that larger picture?
Well, from my own experience, I started this, and more folks like you would ask me questions, so I started doing a little more research. We went on a trip out to South Dakota, and for miles and miles, all we saw was corn and soybeans. Over 90% of the corn in the United States is grown with genetic modification, nitrogen fertilizers, and mechanized farming. So, as you saw, the 8,000 years, man slowly took this corn from a small grass to the flint corn that you see, where the settlers took it 400 years ago, and then around 1850 with nitrogen fertilizers and this kind of mechanization, it sped it up to where we are only, what's that, 150 years later, to huge farms out west that grow nothing but corn. So to answer your question about sustainability, we'll all have to see it. I don't think we know. 90% of the corn grown genetically modified sounds like a pretty large number to me.
Why should we be concerned about genetically modified corn? How is it different from something that is on this small of a scale?
My concern, from my perspective, is it seems to happen pretty quick. That we talked about was a long process over thousands of years, moving with man to different climates, and then the corn slowly developed too, along with people. So the more north it moved, the better it would get for colder climates. So that took years and years, and so man and nature were kind of evolving together to take a gene from a jellyfish and put it into a corn so that you might see it have some phosphorescence. Seems to be an extreme step that's only happened in the last 20 years or less. So I think we'll have to see what happens.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Johnny Cakes in particular and this relationship to flint corn?
Actually, I don't know much.
Okay.
I was hoping you would tell me a little bit.
Well, we're going to find out. We'll keep you posted.
Great.
Thank you so much for your conversation today. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you.
Enjoy organic, fresh vegetables and foods.
Or as their grandparents used to call it, food.
Very good, well.